What is the Jougan? No, really, I'm asking you because I kind of don't know. I mean, I know a little bit, as much as one could possibly know, but there's still questions that I have. And I'm going to flesh them out with you and try and give you the best understanding of what the Jougan is that I can possibly do. One thing I know concretely, though, is that you should already have liked this video, subscribed to this page, and hit that noti bell. Because if you like Naruto, Boruto, or just general anime content, there's no better place on this app than right here. Okay, so let's cover what we know concretely about the Jougan. One, it literally means the pure eye. As to why it means that, people theorize that it has something to do with what one of the illustrators said about it after episode 15 of Boruto aired. Zhengqi Huang, an illustrator for Boruto, said that after episode 15, he needed to clear up a couple of questions that people had about Boruto's Jougan, because people were wondering, is it a Byakugan? Is it a Tenseigan? Is it just drawn wrong? To which he answered, no, it is actually a Jougan, aka a pure eye, and it is the dojutsu equivalent of Naruto's ability to sense negative emotions. And therefore, by sensing pure emotions with this eye, it is therefore called the pure eye. I personally stand at a different camp, and I believe it's called the pure eye because it has the abilities of multiple other types of dojutsu. Let's cover those multiple other abilities real quick. From what we've seen concretely, in the anime at least, the Jougan will automatically activate when in the presence of hidden enemies, kind of acting as a danger sense for Boruto that allows him to understand and even possibly see when people who are dangerous are hidden around him. It is also able to see and track and quantify chakra, and that's important. I'll tell you why. Boruto is not only able to see chakra networks like a Byakugan, but he can also identify how much chakra is in a certain area of a body and then use that to track people. The only other person who's ever been able to quantify the amount of chakra and then use that as a tracking point is Madara. And while you can say that being able to sense when people are close isn't really another eye's specific dojutsu ability, being able to see and then track chakra points is a Byakugan ability. But Boruto can also open portals, which is a Rinnegan ability. And he can track movement with his Byakugan and use it to predict the movements of somebody else, which is a 3-tome Sharingan ability. And lastly, and possibly most importantly, it can see through the invisible barriers that separate the human world from the Otsutsuki realm. It can therefore predict when Yamutsu Hirasaka, aka Kaguya's ability to open dimensional rifts between the Otsutsuki realm and the human world, is going to be used. This is a Rinnegan ability. So 2 Rinnegan abilities, 1 Byakugan ability, and 1 Sharingan ability, all shown in the same eye, almost as if this eye is the pure derivative of all other dojutsus. But are all these wide-branching abilities evidence of that theory, or evidence of the fact that the writers have no idea what they're doing with it? For a second, let's talk about the fact that the Jougan is possibly not even manga canon. In the 5th page of the 1st chapter in Boruto's manga, we see Boruto, while in Borshiki mode, activate an eye that looks a lot like the Jougan while preparing to fight Kawaki. The only problem is this eye is just a pupilless eye that looks like a Byakugan with no veins. This is where the problem is. There's no veins. The second problem is that the Jougan never makes another appearance in the manga. Every moment we see the Jougan used to open portals or track people in the anime is anime canon. Those moments don't happen in the manga. So the one reference from the manga to the anime that we have of possible Jougan existence is in the 1st chapter on the 5th page. But as for the no veins problem, well, that actually kind of has an answer. Look at Momoshiki's eyes. When he doesn't have his Byakugan activated, it looks exactly like the manga's representation of this Jougan eye. Obviously, the anime Jougan looks drastically different from the manga Jougan. These things happen, but the similarities are insanely close. And Kotodachi himself, the anime show runner, has said that he doesn't quite know what the abilities of the Jougan should be yet. Obviously, since Kishimoto has ceded control of Boruto, but at the time, essentially they were saying, we have an eye that we drew into the anime and we don't quite know what it does yet. Kishimoto has come out and said that there will be more representations of the Jougan in the manga later on, but for the moment, it's basically non-existent, except for one panel in the manga that fans are holding on to. In chapter 55 of the manga, while Ishiki is dying and telling Code,
"You are to inherit my will and become an Otsutsuki God,"
a panel of an Otsutsuki God is displayed. And that Otsutsuki God has 3 eyes, like a lot of Otsutsukis, but is also surrounded by a wall of blank eyes, comparatively to the eyes that Boruto shows off in the manga in the first chapter. These eyes are very similar. So you ask yourself, what seems more appealing from a story aspect? That this is simply just Momoshiki's eye, since it is on the side of the Momoshikification, or has Boruto inherited the eye of the Otsutsuki God? I mean, think about it. This would make a lot of sense. It would explain why Momoshiki chose him for a Karamaki. It would explain why everyone from the Otsutsuki clan describes his eyes as so troublesome. You know how hard it is to say Otsutsuki like multiple times in a minute? Otsutsuki, 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 like it's impossible. And here's the thing, when you consider what happens in Naruto the Last, this second theory does not seem that insane. Naruto is a reincarnation of Ashura Otsutsuki, and Hinata is a Hyuga, a descendant of Hamura. On top of that, in the last, Hinata receives Hamura's last bit of chakra. This means almost definitively that Boruto has both Hagoromo and Hamura's chakra, who are the 2 children of Kaguya. To assume that this child somehow lucked into having the god's eye of the Otsutsuki is not the craziest thing of all time. But how powerful could it be? I mean, think about it. Think about what Ishiki tells to Code. You have to eat multiple divine fruits. You have to drain entire planets from their chakra, and you have to continue to evolve until you eventually become an Otsutsuki God, all for the pursuit of these specific dojutsu. Otsutsukis find their power in having multiple differing dojutsus. Think about Ishiki. He had a Byakugan and that thingy that could shrink things. Think about Oroshiki, who could flip between different iterations of the Rinnegan. Think about Kaguya. She had a Sharingan. She had Rinnegan. She was incredibly powerful. The more powerful the Otsutsuki, the more different dojutsus they have. So how powerful would an Otsutsuki that has the base of every single dojutsu be? A lot stronger than Naruto. That's how strong. What do you think? Do you think this is just Momoshiki's eye? Do you think it's a Byakugan? Or do you think it's the eye of a literal god we've only seen it in one panel? You know what I think? I think the anime and the manga had different directors for a little bit, and now they're confused and trying to figure out what the hell to do with an eye that they elaborated and showed off in the first 5 pages of the manga. But I think it would be most interesting if it was the god's eye.